bubble. I mean, isn't this the most safe, wholesome place for a woman to grow? Like when we're all together, don't you just feel the energy? Isn't it like kinetic? I think it's such a fertile place for God to just release dreams from inside of you. And some of you, maybe you're allowing yourself to dream for the very first time in a really long time. So what a beautiful thing when human beings can just open their mind and dream. And then you get home. And as Pam Shaw always said, you return to the same profile card box, same kitchen, same customers, same people around you, and some well-meaning person allows some words to come out of their mouth, and she just stomps right on your dream. And you will be faced with having to make a choice whether you will believe what you know to be truth or not. Now let me tell you a little something I have learned about human nature. We're going to take this conversation down a notch. I'm good at that. We're going to talk about crabs. Yes, snuggly, little affectionate ocean creatures, crabs. In all seriousness, crabs can teach us a pretty big lesson about life. You see, crabs have this amazing ability to be able to crawl out of tight spaces, yet for some reason they're so easy to catch in a trap that they could crawl out of. So why would that be? Well, so fishermen, they take a trap, they lower it down into the water, put food in it, and the crabs see a feast. And they crawl in. And yet, even after the food is gone, the crabs just keep coming and coming and coming. It's like they have a herd mentality. Like they don't want to miss out on what the rest of the group is doing. And so even though there's no more food, they keep coming into the trap. And if one innovative crab gets this great idea, hey guys, what are we doing here? There's no more food. There's no reason for us to be here. I'm leaving. And starts climbing up the side of that trap. The other crabs will pull it down. And if it persists to try again and again to escape, the majority will continue to pull it back down again and again. And eventually they will gang up on it and they will kill it. Crazy stuff. Now, the great irony in this is that all the crabs could escape the trap. Like they've all been given the exact same ability to climb out of that trap. Yet instead of using their energy to climb out themselves or to help one another escape, they use their energy to pull one another down, one by one by one. It's crazy. There's actually a word for it, wait for it, called crab mentality. It's so true. Do you have any crab mentality people in your life who just pointlessly want to pull you down? You know, through the years, I've slowly blocked out most of the crab mentality people in my life, but let's face it, sometimes the crab mentality people aren't going out of your life anytime soon. Sometimes you live next to them, sometimes they're in your family, sometimes you work with them. My first real crab story began when I became a brand new independent beauty consultant 13 years ago. I found myself working in a basement office in a bullpen with 5 other people. Now, considering it was a bullpen, you could hear every phone conversation, you could see every email on the computer screens, and I began my Mary Kay business during the season. And so when I got my starter kit, like I opened my starter kit, and it was like this opening of my heart, like I began to dream again. Well, what happens when you start to dream? I mean, it's like your birthday every day. You've got like vigor fills your bones and you've got blood flowing through your veins and the product is great, but I think you seem 10 years younger all of a sudden because you have life in you again. And people wonder why Mary Kay people are always so happy. And I'm like, dude, it's no shocker. When human beings begin to dream and are encouraged and have a way to make their dreams come alive, people get and stay excited. So this same excitement happened to me too, to the great annoyance of my coworkers. And I opted to spend as minimal time with them as possible. And so instead of going to lunch every day with them, as they did, same 5 people went to lunch every day, I began to break away. And I began to use my lunch breaks to make customer calls from my car. I began to use my lunch breaks to do career surveys, and they did not like that at all. And it did not take long for me to become the target of their snide comments, the brunt of their jokes, and their body language became very exclusionary. So much so that when I earned the use of my very first Mary Kay career card, can you imagine the sheer joy and the celebration in my heart of earning the use of that car at midnight on a Tuesday? I went to work at 8 a.m. on a Wednesday and did not even say a word. Can you imagine holding that in with the 5 people you spend 10 hours a day with every single day? But at least I had sense enough to know that a 16 by 24 size dream cannot compute in a 5 by 7 mind. And I knew if they couldn't accept that I was doing something to embetter myself outside of work, then they definitely wouldn't be able to handle the news that I was actually succeeding. You see, what happens with crabs also happens with humans. The crab story is just a physical example of what happens mentally to us whenever you step out of the herd, or whenever you step out of any traditional role of corporate ladder climbing, or you step out of any ordinary path. People are just naturally inclined to try to break your spirit in the form of sarcasm. Oh, you really think you're going to make money at that? They plant seeds of doubt. Oh, I knew someone once who did that and they just could never get it going. Or they try to make your idea seem impossible or scary. Well, it may work for some, but you're just not cut out for that. Or they may make you feel guilty for wanting more out of life. You have a good job. You should be happy with your life. You see, the reason people do this is because if you escape the trap, then you've proven to them that it's possible. And they don't have the same courage that you have to make the same climb out of that trap. So frankly, it's just much easier and much safer for them to just knock you down than it is for them to make their own way out of that trap. You know what? Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I think it's human nature that we long for a day where life is easy, where obstacles and challenges are light, where people get it, where we beat the numbers, and where key people in your life are verbally affirming and believe you can do it. But the fact is, that world does not exist, not on this side of heaven at least. And you know what? A perfect story isn't very inspiring. You know what transforms a lump of coal into a diamond? Pressure. Pressure, having to go through some great difficulty or challenge. You know, Pam Shaw would always say we overestimate the perk and we underestimate the price. The price is being tested by fire. And anytime you step out of the herd, fire is coming. It's coming. But you know what? Welcome it. You know why? Because fire removes the impurities from precious metals. It's the refining fire. It's where the growth happens. It's so true. And I'm telling you, to be successful, one of the fires you're going to have to let go of, or you're going to have to go through, is letting go of the need for approval from everyone in your life. And you may find that you have surprising key people in your life who you so desperately want their approval, or just frankly, how's your Mary Kay would be nice. Yet it may never come for reasons you may never know. And you may drive yourself crazy trying to figure out why. You know, there's a great quote from Al-Anon that says, you can't go to a hardware store for a loaf of bread. It's like setting yourself up for disappointment over and over and over again, to keep going back to the same person again and again and again, and hoping maybe this time they'll be excited for me. Maybe this time they'll be excited. It's almost like self-abuse. Now, I don't think all crab people are bad at heart. I mean, sometimes I don't think they even realize the damage that they cause. Not that it excuses them, but sometimes they're just a product of the way they were raised or the way they were taught to think. You know, we recently moved, and I used to have this neighbor. We were about the same age, and we had kids the same age. And you know that quote that says, we all like to see our friends get ahead, but not too far ahead? Well, by this time in my Mary Kay career, I was driving a pink Cadillac. I had 2 young children at the time, and I had gone on top of sales director trips. I worked from home with women I absolutely adore and love, and I was being personally, spiritually fulfilled, and just living this really power-packed yet fulfilling life. And I mean, I'm pretty sure she was probably jealous. So let's face it, I do have a pretty awesome life. But I was never loud about my career. Like, I was super aware that our lives were very different. And in fact, since she never asked about it, I was really careful to never bring it up. And out of her jealousy, there was some kind of like passive-aggressive-ish, meanish comments made that were kind of directed towards me, and that left me feeling judged. Like my motherhood was being judged, and my faith walk was being judged. And there were some comments about sales thrown in there too. What do you do when you feel judged? Well, I subconsciously became consumed with making a few points very clear. She had successfully pulled me right down the side of that trap, down to her level. And I bowed at the throne of idolatry of approval. And instead of becoming obsessed with my God-given purpose and my God-given dream, I became obsessed with trying to prove something to an audience that wasn't really watching. And so I did what any rational, spiritually grounded mother would do. I began taking my children for walks in the stroller around the neighborhood. Instead of turning left out of my driveway, I turned to the right, so I'd go past her house, hoping she might see me spending quality time with my kids. When I pulled out of my driveway out of my pink Cadillac, instead of turning right, this time I turned to the left, so hopefully she wouldn't see me leaving. I made sure she knew that I made my own baby food. A sure sign of an involved mother. Oh, no Gerber for my baby's mouth. I smashed those vegetables with my bare hands. She never found out that my kids wouldn't eat my baby food. And worst of all, I made sure to throw in how often I was volunteering at church. Oh, yes, I did. I knew I'd reached an all-time mental low, though, when I found myself contemplating one day if perhaps I could make her a cake with my breast milk. I have a very special delivery for you from Mom of the Year. Totally made from scratch. You know, we may laugh now, but in the end, I think she maybe had the last laugh, because you know what? In that fiscal year, while I was allowing myself to get entangled with the crabs, my commission decreased. Oh yeah, it decreased by, guess what? $33,000 that year. Check that out. Now, it was still a six-figure income, so not bad, but a $33,000 decrease is a hefty price to pay for this imaginary game of lose-lose I was playing. But you know what? It wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault. She was just doing what crabs do. Why should I have expected anything different? You know, light behaves like light and dark behaves like dark, you know? And it was my fault. It was my fault. I allowed myself to get caught up in that crap. I mean, think what it cost me. Not just in money, but think what it cost me in distraction. You know, mental energy spent in one area is mental energy away from another. So while I was playing this game of lose-lose, I wasn't leading. And if you were in my future national area at the time, think of what it cost you. Are you playing the same imaginary mental game of lose-lose, you know, trying to live up to or prove something to someone that may or may not even be watching? I mean, it's a game you can't win at. Nobody wins at that game. Nobody wins. Only the enemy wins at that. The next time that you catch yourself going down that path, ask yourself, what is this costing me? What is this thought costing my family? What is it costing my dream? You see, the day you start defending what you do is the day you devalue what you do. And we often don't live out loud because we're paralyzed for fear of being criticized. And if you live your life to avoid criticism, then there will never be any significant ripples flowing out of your life and impacting your family and your community and your team. You know, Aristotle said criticism is something we can easily avoid by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. But in today's terms, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popular. My wise husband said the other day, you know what? Being a critic is easy. Any weak-minded person can criticize a leader or a situation or a process, but it takes the uncommon person to step away from the herd, to actually do something about it. You know, and that's you, because you're all here. Eleanor Roosevelt said that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And so if I'm ever tempted to go there again in my mind, I just think, my children deserve a mom who stays above the fray. My team, my unit members, my area deserve a leader who takes the high road when I just want to jam back. My husband deserves a wife who doesn't waste the time that I do have on work, on petty, low-level thoughts that only distract me from my God-given calling. Who needs you to be great? Whose dreams are attached to yours, and whose dreams are counting on you to not get brought down by the thoughts or opinions of small-minded people. And you know, when you're tempted to need to defend or to fight or to get pulled down into the drama, remember Galatians 1:10, you now serve an audience of one. You have nothing to prove and only one to please. Yes, love the messenger. Absolutely love the messenger, but throw away the message. And I'm here to tell you what, girlfriend, you've got one life to live on this earth. Why not decide to make that one life exceptional? And what'll happen is when you decide to make that one life that you're given exceptional, the crabs will come out. They'll try to pull you down. And just remember, don't be distracted by criticism. Because remember, the only taste of success that some people get is taking a bite out of you. God bless you. Have a great rest of your seminar.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a standing ovation to Independent Senior National Sales Director, Julia Burnett.